Previously on Gears.
All right, let's look at the world of motorsport and motoring from this past weekend, where we had a huge amount of action taking place all over the world. We had the Indy 500, and I don't know if you watched the build-up to the Indy 500. I was watching it, and they had this one little insert with Tony Kanaan and Helio Castroneves. And just watching that, I just said, Tony Kanaan is going to win this race. It was just written that Tony Kanaan was going to win it, and he did. And it was just one of the most emotional, wonderful victories in Indy 500. You cannot believe how many times the lead changed during that race. But eventually, with 4 laps to go, Tony Kanaan went on his radio. He was lying, I think, in second or third place. Went onto his radio to his pit crew. He said, you know what? I'm going for it. Whatever happens, happens. The green came on. He had a blistering start, got in the tow, got into the lead. He hadn't been in the lead for more than 4 or 5 seconds, and Dario Franchitti hit the wall, brought out a yellow, and that basically ended the race. They finished under yellow, which basically is like a safety car. But he won the race, and he got the milk. Because, you know, in Indy is a dry county.
Okay.
So you drink milk on the... And then they pour it on themselves. You know,
no.
Pouring champagne in yourself is okay, but I don't think I'd pour milk on my head.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course you may. Yeah.
Yesterday in the F1 race,
Yes.
what is the difference between, you said something about a rolling start, is that right?
Yes, safety car start.
Yes, but there's two different ones.
Yes, there's a safety car start or safety car restart, and there is a standard start where you start where your car is static.
So then do you go to like where you
Your
second,
grid.
you're going to the second. Oh,
Into your grid.
But that's not really fair.
Why?
Because then the guy's leading the guy's second can take the lead.
Well, if he gets a better start, yes.
When does that happen?
Start of every race.
No, I know that. After what though? Because from what I understood,
what
when
happened?
the safety car
talking-
came out, then there was that terrible
The
accident.
safety car came out. There were 2 safety car interventions, and then the race was red flagged.
Yes, red
okay,
flagged.
it was red flagged. Now, so basically, then they start a whole new race, but they decided to start it under the safety car. So basically, the safety car led them around, and then they carried on racing.
So then sometimes do they go back to the grid
They
start,
went back to their grid start, but
then followed the safety car.
followed the safety car to restart the race. There we go. Superbike action. Tom Sykes basically won both of the Superbike races yesterday. Kevin Harvick won the NASCAR. Kevin Harvick won the NASCAR grueling, the Charlotte. And let me just tell you, I love my NASCAR, but I'm sick and tired of watching it now. I cannot watch the NASCAR anymore. It was so late. It only went on at midnight last night. So I watched it this morning. And I sat there with my remote control because I'd PVR'd it. So I was with a remote control, and I sat and said, okay, well, I'll just watch and then go through the adverts, watch, etc., etc., etc. In the first hour of that race, there was 17 minutes of TV coverage of the race and 43 minutes of adverts.
It's ridiculous.
43 minutes. There were times they would show one lap and go to another ad break, and I was like, you know what, I've had enough.
But they do that during the F1 races in America too.
Yeah, not on us. We don't interrupt. Anyway, so that was a bit annoying as well. But Kevin Harvick won it. My guy Jeff Gordon involved in a huge accident. So then I really got upset about that as well. All right, let's look at our Formula One race from yesterday. Before the race even started, we were just thrown with a huge curveball. And this is this whole Mercedes-Benz and Pirelli doing a secret test, in inverted commas, after the Barcelona race 2 weekends ago. Now, just to give you clarification of how these things work, Pirelli has the option, they have their own test car, but they have the option to invite a team to come and do a test for them. Okay, they invited. Becomes very transparent, everybody knows about it. There are some rules regarding this though. Number one, And the most important rule, you're not allowed to use the current spec vehicle, because then it's basically free testing. You've got to use a much older chassis from 3 years ago and then go and do the various testing that Pirelli want the data for. Okay. What happened with this, and this is where it really gets ugly, is the fact that no one knew about this until late on Saturday night in Monaco. So as soon as that was released, there was a huge storm that just came out. The problem with this is that no one knew about this test, which I think is both Mercedes and Pirelli's fault. And the most important part about this is that Mercedes used the 2013 car, which in itself is free testing, and testing is limited to various times during the year for all of the teams. So now we're going to have a problem where I do believe that the FIA are going to have to make a decision on what kind of penalty should be dished out to these teams. It's quite muddled and muddy at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get some kind of clarity on it over the next couple of days. Just to let you know, Red Bull Racing and Ferrari at this stage have asked for complete clarity as to why this was allowed to happen and why nobody else was involved. There is a letter from the FIA that comes out at the moment that the FIA did sanction this test, but specifically said that if they were using a 2013 model, then all of the teams should be invited. The FIA then goes on to say, we heard nothing back from Mercedes or Pirelli. So it's quite a difficult one. Let's leave it up to the lawmakers and the rule makers and find out what's going on. But besides that, a very tactical race yesterday in Monaco. Now, loads of people tweeting yesterday, oh, what a snooze fest, this is ridiculous, why they're driving so slowly, it's this, that, and whatever. There are a few things we've got to bear into note. We know the tyres are very difficult to control during the Formula One season. Get over it, deal with it, that's how it is. The other problem is in Monaco, it's basically impossible to overtake. We gave a stat yesterday on TV saying the lowest position that somebody has won from in the Monaco Grand Prix is only third. So you've got to know how difficult it is to win at Monaco if you're starting 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th, anywhere on the grid. Had the Red Bulls been on pole position, or Ferrari been on pole position, or Lotus been on pole position, I'm sure they would have adopted very similar strategy to what Mercedes did. Mercedes went out there, they know their tyres are giving them problems, and controlled the pace of the race. Yes, it's not to everybody's excitement that they're driving a lot slower. But if you're watching on the TV, you wouldn't know if they're driving any slower. They still look like they're going damn fast. But you can see it. So, people getting upset by the fact that they were driving at a slower pace. They control the race, and all you have to do in Monaco is make sure the person behind you cannot pass you. That's how you're going to win. Years back, Nigel Mansell was chasing Ayrton Senna around the streets of Monaco. Senna was about 3 seconds a lap slower than Nigel Mansell, but Mansell couldn't get past. It's just one of those notoriously frustrating and difficult circuits in the world of Formula One. We had loads of action that happened on the track as well. Didn't lend itself to brilliant racing, but some very scary moments as well. Felipe Massa had another huge accident at the same place he had an accident on Saturday. Fortunately, okay, released from hospital, he should be fit enough to take part in the Canadian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time as well. Another very big accident for Pastor Maldonado, where he had a coming together with Max Chilton. That was brought out the red flag. He was okay. Then Romain Grosjean went up the back of Danny Ricciardo, and Grosjean unfortunately in the spotlight again for his very fast driving, but sometimes very erratic driving. And then, of course, Sergio Perez, I think, was doing a sterling job. Had a great move to pass his teammate Button. Another great move to pass Alonso. Then tried to do it one more time to Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen said, no, you're not going to have any of this. And closed the door. Eventually, Perez retired. I think I mean, people are going, off at him or whatever, but at least he tried his best to make it very, very exciting. So, Nico Rosberg follows in his footsteps of his father, 30 years to the weekend of winning the Monaco Grand Prix. First time ever that has happened. Some other sterling drives, you've got to say. Adrian Sutil was mega during the course of the weekend. So was Jean-Eric Verne for Toro Rosso. So, it's a Monaco Grand Prix. Monaco is Monaco. That's how it is. Notoriously difficult to overtake. But a great victory for Nico Rosberg. Great victory for Mercedes-Benz. But unfortunately clouded by the news of perhaps underhanded tactics from Mercedes. So we'll wait for the FIA to come out with some clarity on that. There we go.
Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.
Beautiful.
Gears with Sasha Martinengo on bulls.co.za.